Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the fancy corporate jargon, and see what's really going on underneath. Today we're diving into a report that signals a pretty big shift for a familiar name we all know, but perhaps not as a private company. Get ready because we're about to decode how Skechers US been acquired and what that means for its future. Before we jump in, if you love getting these clear, straightforward breakdowns of complex financial documents and want to stay ahead of the curve, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you want to chat with other finance enthusiasts and get even more insights, hop into our Discord community. The link is in the description. So what exactly are we looking at here? This is a Form 8K filing from Beach Acquisition Co-Parent LLC. This is the official announcement that a company called Beach Acquisition Co-Parent LLC has officially bought Skechers USA Inc. It happened on September 12, 2025. Let's talk about the main event, the acquisition of Skechers. Using Skechers is now owned by this private investment group. 2025, the report tells us that Beach Acquisition Co-Parent LLC, which is backed by investors managed by 3G Capital Partners LP, acquired Skechers. They did this through a merger where a subsidiary of Beach Acquisition Co-Parent LLC merged with Skechers. This means Skechers is now owned by this private investment group. To make this big deal happen, Beach Acquisition Bidco LLC, which is an indirect parent of Skechers, issued some major debt. They issued about 1 billion euros in senior secured notes and another $2.2 billion in senior Pi-K toggle notes. These weren't just handed out freely. The money from selling these notes was held in a special account called escrow. This money was only released once certain conditions were met, so the money was released to help pay for the Skechers purchase and all the costs associated with it. On the same day, September 12, 2025, the company also secured a massive loan. They entered into a credit agreement for what they call senior secured credit facilities. This facility provides them with a huge amount of money, a combined equivalent of over $3 billion through term loans, and a $1.6 billion revolving credit facility. This is a significant amount of debt that will be used to finance this acquisition and likely cover ongoing operations and future investments. The company also put up pretty much all of Skechers' assets and the assets of other agreeing companies as collateral for these loans, meaning if they can't pay back the debt, the lenders can take those assets. Now let's talk about what the shareholders of Skechers got. For every share of Skechers common stock that was owned by the public and not held by the company or the new owners or by shareholders who chose to dissent, a few things happened. They had a choice basically. Shareholders could receive $63 the item in cash for each share, or they could choose a mix of $57 in cash for each share, or they could choose a mix of $57 E. This is a common structure in buyouts to give shareholders some flexibility. For employees and executives who held stock awards in Skechers, the deal also meant changes. Any stock awards that were only tied to staying with the company for a certain time, meaning they were just based on service, those awards were fully vested and converted into cash based on the same $63 cash election. Now for the stock awards that had performance goals attached to them, these were a bit more complex. They were cancelled and replaced with a right to receive a special type of unit in the new parent company called a Class P unit. The vesting conditions for these awards would carry over, but importantly the original performance targets were either based on Skechers' actual performance up to the merger date or in some cases assumed target performance if the performance period hadn't ended yet. With this big change in ownership, new leadership often comes in. The report mentions that Alexandra Bering and Daniel S. Schwartz were appointed to the board of directors of the new parent company. This signals that the investment firm 3G Capital Partners LP will have a strong say in how Skechers is run going forward. Interestingly, the report also lists the new executive officers for the company. Robert Greenberg, the founder of Skechers, is staying on as chief executive officer. Michael Greenberg is continuing as president. John Vandermoor is the new chief financial officer. David Weinberg is the chief operating officer and executive vice president. And Mark Nason is the executive vice president of product development. So it seems like a good portion of the existing Skechers management team is staying in place to run the day-to-day operations. Now, for those who ended up with those special parent units, a lot of rules apply. The report details some pretty strict limitations on transferring these units. For example, they can't be easily sold or given away, except in specific situations like to affiliates for estate planning or as part of specific sale processes that the legacy holder, representative, or person elected by those unit holders can request. If anyone tries to transfer these units in a way that violates these rules, those units could even be forfeited with no compensation. It really shows these units are meant to be held for a longer term and under strict control. And here's a key point for those legacy holders who receive these special units. They generally don't get to see the company's books and records or have much say in the day-to-day operations. Their role seems more passive, and their representation on the board is through that elected legacy holder representative who does get some information access. To cap it all off, on the very same day, September 12, 2025, both companies jointly announced this big news through a press release. Alright, let's talk about what this all means for Skechers. On the surface, this is a massive private equity buyout. 3G Capital is known for its operational focus and often aims to restructure and improve companies to maximize returns. The fact that the original leadership is largely staying on is interesting. It could mean that 3G sees a lot of value in the current management team and wants to leverage their expertise. However, it also means that Skechers will now be operating under a private ownership structure, which means less public scrutiny but likely more intense pressure to perform and deliver results for the private equity owners who have significant debt to service. The significant debt taken on for this acquisition is a major factor to watch. This leverage can amplify returns if the business performs well, but it also increases the risk if things go south. Skechers is a well-known brand with global reach, over 30s and streamlined operations. This could be a very profitable venture for them. But the success hinges on whether they can grow the business and manage that substantial debt effectively. We'll need to keep an eye on how management handles the operational side and the balance sheet in the coming quarters. So that's our deep dive into the acquisition of Skechers. What do you think about this move? Does it signal a bright future for Skechers under new private ownership, or does the large debt load raise red flags for you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out, and be sure to subscribe for more content like this. And don't forget to join our growing Discord community for more insights and discussions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.